Masterclass with Leo. Today we are doing types of functions. Right? Today we're focusing on types of functions. Right? Types of functions. Right? So the types that we'll focus on is actually we're doing engineering maths. So we'll focus on the first one, which is called polynomial. Right? Polynomial. Right? So inside polynomial functions, we have different types. Inside that polynomial, you have a multinomial, you have monomial, and you have binomial. Multinomial, it's actually more than two terms. Like your functions with more than two terms is multinomial. Then you have binomial, the functions with two terms, and you also have monomial, that is a function with one term, right? So in a monomial, when you define a monomial, you'll say is a function that has or consists of this formula plus a n minus 1 x to the power n minus 1 then plus a n minus 2 x n minus 2 plus then a 1 x to the power 1 plus a 0, right? That is the a polynomial. When you're defining it, you can just write this formula and then you'll get your two marks if this is 2 marks, right? This is the definition of a polynomial. So after defining that, you must also come back and say a polynomial. In a polynomial, the power of x is a non-negative factor, right? The power of x is a non-negative factor, right? Then the domain 3, the domain of a polynomial. The domain of a polynomial, it will be what? The set of x values, right? So in this case, is x is the element of real numbers. So from negative to positive sets of x values, that is your polynomial, right? Then polynomial has degrees, right, of polynomials. Polynomial, right? The first degree is the one that we use a lot, which is your straight line, right? This is your linear, right? First degree, if you can check here, this is the first degree, which is degree 1, right? And then 2, we also use this a lot. This is called a quadratic, right? It consists of degree 2. This is the second degree polynomial. And then you have a cubic function. Cubic function x to the power or ax to the power 3 plus bx squared plus cx plus d. This is of a third degree and it's called a cubic function, right? It's called a cubic function. This is of degree 3. Then if you can just take a few examples of that, of the polynomials, try to, sorry about that. Let's say you have 3x to the power 5, then plus 6x cubed plus 2, right? This is a polynomial, right? And this polynomial, this type of a polynomial is a multinomial. Why? Because it has more than two terms, right? And again, this you can just say this is the fifth, okay, fifth degree polynomial function, right? This is of fifth degree polynomial function. If you were to name it, and then say you are given x, f of x is equals to x squared plus 2x plus 1, right? So in this case, we have a quadratic function, right? It's a polynomial, and its name is called a quadratic function, right? This is a quadratic function. This, if you have something like this, f of x is equals to sine of x plus 5x. This is a non-polynomial. Polynomial. Right? That is a non-polynomial function. Then let's come to the second one. The second one, we will talk about rational. Type 2. Okay, let me just, it's funny. Let me erase everything. Type 2, it's called a radical. Erase everything at once. Okay. Let's clear the page. Clear the page. Yes. Okay, there we go. Now the next one that we'll talk about is a rational. Sorry about that. A rational function. I don't know why do I like radical so much. Rational functions, right? With a rational function, if you're given Rx is Px over Qx, right? Where your P and your Q, where your P and your Q are polynomials. Right? This is the first step of your definition. Where P and Q are polynomials. Then, in this case, you need to look for what we call zeros and poles. Right? You need to know what are your zeros and what are your poles. What are the zeros? The values. These are the values of x. Value or values, okay, of x for which P of x is equals to 0, right? And poles are the values of x for which Q of x is equals to 0, right? And for the poles, that's where your function is undefined. Where is it undefined? At the poles. It's undefined at the poles, right? So an example of this would be, let me do that again. An example of this would be an example of rational numbers would be rational functions would be f of x is equals to x plus 1 over x cubed plus 3. Right? If I were to look for my zeros and my poles, my zeros will be this portion at the top. Let's say zeros. My zeros will be x plus 1 should be equals to 0. Right? Then my zeros x is equals to what? Negative 1. And then my poles would be your numerator, which is x cubed plus 3. This must be equivalent to 0, right? These are my zeros, and then x cubed is equals to negative 3, right? Then cubic, and x square root, a cube root of negative 3, right? Those are your poles. Then lastly we did polynomials and rational functions. Now we will talk about these ones, trigonometric functions, right? Trigonometric functions. The trigonometric functions, you are talking about your sine of x, your cos of x, and your tan of x, right? These are the three that we will talk about today. Hope you understand. See you in the next video. In the next video, we will be doing questions on this, treating problems on the three functions that we did. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the content with your friends. See you in the next video. Tango!